Yo, welcome back to Shotgun the Orcs podcast. It's your host Tom, joined by Rob, the intern. Today's guest really needs no introduction. Rob, you always interrupt me, man. Right, I've got to start again now. This is why he's the intern.
You got to carry on. No, you're supposed to be the professionals. You're supposed to carry on.
I can't deal with this, man. I can't deal with this kind of level
so
of
when you're a rapper, bottles start flying and people start fighting in front of you. You can't stop rapping. You got to keep the party going.
Welcome to Shotgun the Orcs podcast. It's your host Tom, joined by Rob, the intern / interrupter. Today's guest really needs no introduction, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce him anyway. He's a pioneer not only in UK hip-hop, but independent music in general. He's been grafting since the 80s, releasing a number of albums throughout the 90s and noughties, including the seminal record The Unknown with the late, great Mark B. He is one of the most hardest working independent artists ever to do it. It's the one and only Blade. How are you doing, man? Welcome to the podcast.
Yo, I'm really good, thank you guys. And thanks for having me here. Really been looking forward to this one.
Oh man, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Albeit a couple of technical issues, but it's just what's going on at the moment on Skype, But
can you just hold on? I'm sorry, I'm just going to turn this pornography off. Okay, the porn is off.
Real life dramas, isn't it? That's what it is. That's first world problems.
Do I ask you what porn it is? Yeah.
I was joking, bro.
I know, man. I know. Well, hopefully. But so I've got to say as well, man, you're like the first of our first guests we've had on who's ever featured on Top of the Pops. So big up yourself.
That was an accident. I slipped and fell into the situation.
So, man, I mean, season heads will know the back catalogue, but I think the reason why we kind of do this podcast, one of the many reasons, is there's a generation of young listeners who may not know the history, so it's a way of kind of reconciling that. Mm-hmm. So I know you're a retired artist now, but do you want to kind of tell people who may not know, like younger listeners tuning in, a bit about Blade as an artist, where you started out, and the journey? It's a big question, appreciated, but
I'll try and keep it as limited as possible. But basically, when I started rapping, there wasn't that many rappers around, and we had a bit of a thing to deal with where we had to kind of fight off the elders who thought we were just here to cause trouble and all that kind of stuff. But we were just young guys who just wanted to go out there and do what we were doing, whether it was graffiti, beatboxing, rapping, DJing, whatever it was. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I've been involved in the music scene from a very early age. So from the age of 6 or 7, I started writing poetry, but that wasn't even to music. That was just poetry because it's something that I enjoy doing. I liked the fact that I was playing with words and everything. And it was just trying to find exciting ways to say things other people were saying until eventually you started really discovering that you want to say your things now, not what others are saying. You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the process was, in the beginning when rapping came in, when it wasn't even called hip hop back then. It was just, there was rappers. Do you know what I mean? And we're not saying rappers as in Goldie looking chain whappers. We're saying rappers. Right? But yeah, so we just saw this new phenomenon coming in, and it was exciting. There was people dancing on the floor with backspins and all that. We didn't know what it was, and it was just something you just wanted to get involved with. You know what I mean? But obviously that didn't come straight in. There was a couple of years down the line. Before that, we were starting to hear things like Curtis Blow and like Rapper's Delight, and it was just a whole different sound, something that just seemed to be speaking to the youth. And I wasn't the only person in my school or whatever that was into it. Everybody was getting into it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But in terms of me personally, I got into that side of things just for the love of it. And then that evolved into me wanting to be an artist when I started realizing, hold on, I'm standing on these stages in school and other people's schools, talent competitions, and I'm actually getting people getting excited. So I'm like, oh, maybe I could do something with this. And that's when we started realizing that there is more than just kind of putting words together. Now we're able to put it to music, and now we're able to get people excited. And when you're a young school kid and there's people coming up to you after the shows and asking for autographs, that was probably the first time I signed a girl's tits. But,
First time, love it, man.
yeah, but
Not the last.
uh,
I've seen the stencil picture somewhere. Where's the stencil? I've seen the
yeah,
picture with the stencil.
that was on the belly, but yeah,
Oh.
a lot more went on. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So a long time it was just about the love of it, and there was never any discussions of money or anything. So money never came into it. We were just like, we want to do this, we want to do this. And then it was a case of like, you start realizing you're getting to a point where you're good at what you do, and now you want to turn it into, if these guys can get onto vinyl. Because look, a lot of people's mentalities back then was, oh my God, them guys are on record. Oh my God, them guys are on TV. And a lot of people used to think it can't be them.
Yeah.
Whereas I was surrounded by people who were in the world of fame. Like, for example, there was a kid in our school, a guy called Giles Craig, who was a friend of mine from school. He was a friend of everybody's in school, really good guy. And his brother, Michael Craig, was the bassist in Culture Club.
Oh, nice.
So from an early age, we're all running to Top of the Pops, because every Thursday it felt like Culture Club were on Top of the Pops. And we're like, quick, don't miss it. Brush your teeth. Get out there, quick. You know what I mean? And it was like a tradition. Like, we got to run down there and catch Culture Club on Top of the Pops, just because we know that one of the brothers is in our school. So we had that brush with people. So we were now starting to see things like, wow, if they can get on TV and they're normal humans, we can get on TV. So we started looking at things differently. And then it was just a case of practice what you're doing, get good, and see what you can make of it. You know what I mean? But the ultimate thing that most people know about me is that I stood on the streets and I sold my records independently. I turned down deals that I was offered and whatever, and I just decided to do it myself. I didn't, from a very early age, when everyone else was looking for record deals, I decided to go different, because I saw it was a pattern. I just saw everyone complaining about their record deals. And I just thought, you know what? It's like, I'm going to end up in the same situation. I'm not going to do that. So, yeah.
There are a lot of like articles and interviews that kind of delve into your background, which really shed a lot of light onto how kind of hungry you were as an artist when you first started out. And your story is extraordinary. And just to paraphrase an article I read on quietus.com, and the name of the writer, I believe he was connected with you in some way, but apologies, I can't remember his name and I forgot to write it down.
I will tell you his name, and he's he's an incredible guy, really, really good friend. He was my PR guy as well. His name is Angus Beatty.
Okay, big up Angus. It was a really, really in-depth piece, and just to paraphrase out of that article, and this kind of sums up a lot about the early days. There has probably never been an artist who took independence, determination, and self-belief to such absolute ends. Blade has learned those lessons early. Born to ethnic Armenian parents in Iran, he was sent to boarding school in London as a pre-teen, only for the revolution to leave him stranded there with no chance of returning, no way of his parents sending him money, and no means of support. He washed dishes to make ends meet. It's just an absolutely extraordinary tale of how hungry you were at the time, and literally going out with those records and making it happen in an analog era, with no kind of tools for self-promotion like you have now with the internet. I mean, that's a gift and a curse in itself, which we can touch upon later. But what was that experience like in the early days of actually going out and doing that? And just talk a little bit more about that, because that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Look, like I said, I knew so many artists that when they were making their records, they were going out there and they were all amped up, like, yeah, we got a record deal. And then like 3 months later, it's all like deflated, like, it's not what it was made out to be. So, I started hanging around with certain friends of mine who are still lifelong friends now to this day. One person in particular that encouraged me a lot was this woman called Debbie Hutchinson. Yeah. And she basically saw something in me and she was encouraging it. She, like, at the time, I didn't even have money to eat. And she used to be like, look, if you're ever hungry, because she knew I wasn't eating. You know, I was skinny. I was that skinny. You know, whatever, just whatever you want to throw at me. I was that. You know what I mean? And the hunger came from not having. Yeah, the hunger came from like there was so much. It's like I wanted to prove myself to myself, not to the rest of the world, to myself. You know, and I just felt like this is something that I have a passion for. I had a passion for sports, but I had a back injury, so I couldn't carry on with sports. So, you know, when the opportunity came and this woman was by my side encouraging me, I just felt like, yo, if this is a woman that is not even into the kind of music we make, but she can see something in me, then maybe I can go further than just hip hop. Maybe I can take hip hop to the masses and then convert people into liking hip hop. And the number of people that have come to me and said, I'm not even a hip hop fan, but I like what you do. You know, it's crazy.
Did you ever get any opposition from people? Like,
all the time. I mean,
you couldn't do it. Saying you're like an English fella trying to do an American music. Did you ever get that kind of backlash from people? Just trying to pull you down when you couldn't, saying you couldn't do it.
Yeah, all the time. Or like, I mean, that was. This is what I was saying about earlier. Like, you know, about the things that drove us to become somebody. That was part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if you saw one of my posts recently where I said about doubters, keep doubting. I need another 1,000 of you to doubt me. You know, basically because it's that pushes us. Right? And not everybody. Some people will break. Some people will want to jump in front of trains and whatever.
Yeah,
you know, because one person doubts them. Look, we as artists, like maybe not everybody. So I'm not speaking on behalf of all artists, but I know a lot of artists that basically can get 1,000 compliments, but it's that one negative comment that hurts them. Yeah, and I was like that. So I was looking for more people to tell me I was shit so I could improve. You know what I'm saying? And that's basically what I set my precedents to be. You know what I mean? I was just like, yo, I want people to tell me that I'm not good enough, so I get good enough. And then the more people I went along and I started going, look, I've got this record now. I've made Lyrical Maniac. Listen to this. Or my demos before that, Hit and Run. Let's go get them, boys. You know, when I'm playing stuff and people are going, oh, shit, you're actually good. And that's when I started realizing, like, you know, now I'm starting to touch people. Not in that way, but you know what I mean. So,
that's real.
But I love the fact that people were doubting, because that's what really spurred me on.
I mean, everyone gets that as an artist, don't they? They always have the people that want to try and drag you back because they don't want to see someone kind of go the extra mile to put themselves out of their comfort zone to create something that they can't create. Do you know what I mean? So there are people.
I don't think people do that with the intention of spurring. I think they do that with the intention of actually just being negative.
Yeah, well, yeah,
100%.
100%.
Subconsciously, maybe, but I mean, it's I mean, Lyrical Maniac. When was that? 1989. So you've been making waves for 30 years.
I actually recorded that the year before.
The year before.
Yeah. That's hard, true.
How is your attitudes to? Obviously, you're kind of an independent artist through and through, but you're involved in the music industry for a very long time. How's your attitude changed over the years in terms of how it's evolved and just the general kind of landscape of music in independent music in the UK right now?
I mean, obviously, like if we're talking just about UK hip hop, then I'll just say it hasn't evolved. That's the truth. It hasn't. Like everyone is like, in my honest, humble opinion, like one of the reasons I started the channel that I'm doing, which I guess we'll get on to talk about at some point. But it is because I see 90% of the artists out there either don't know what they're doing, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but they don't. Yeah. And they need some kind of guidance, so that they understand how the industry works. Yeah. Or they've just got a crabs in a bucket mentality. Right? And it's like everyone's in it for themselves. Everybody's in it for themselves. And like we done an interview with Scheme recently on the channel, and Scheme said something important, and I 100% agree with him. Like, you got all these amazing artists. Like when I heard you, Rob, I was like, yo, what the? You know what I mean? I didn't even know. You know what I'm saying?
Just for context, Rob the Intern's actually a rapper as well. Goes to
I gave Paris a compliment.
In case you didn't know that.
Yeah, but that's crazy.
Well, I'm saying it's like since then we've been talking. And,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I just think there's so much talent out there that are like you that probably don't get the shine they deserve. And why? Because there's people sitting there, right, and they would rather big up their friends that are rubbish just so they don't have to big you guys up. And I agree with Scheme when he said that. Stop supporting your whack friends and start supporting real talent.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Especially for a paycheck as well. Some people, yeah.
But I think ultimately the thing that made us, not just me, but made all of us from back in the days who we are, is because we enjoyed what we did first and foremost. Yeah, but it seems like the enjoyment isn't really there for a lot of people nowadays because they get into this with the intention of making money and becoming millionaires and whatever. You know what I mean? And some people go on and do that. I'm not saying that's the same with UK hip hop because I think most people that get into hip hop, into UK hip hop, as it's that underground, they probably already know there's no money in it, and they probably. But I spoke to a group not long ago, and they said they do it because it's an excuse for them to get together with their mates and smoke weed.
But there is that, though, isn't it? It's always the social thing.
It's
the social
thing.
It's
just...
We were saying it earlier, like, you know, when you're younger, your social life is music. You go out, you freestyle, you go here, you're rapping over there, you meet these next people that rap, so you'll find you know forming friendships with people. So it's more of a social thing as well. Whereas nowadays, through this Corona thing, we're all cut off from each other. We can't do nothing. Do you know what I mean? And it's the digital era too. Everything is kind of the phones and everything make the world smaller, so people don't have to meet each other necessarily. Whereas back in the day, I suppose, that when I was younger, when you was younger, we had to travel. We had to hear about a show somewhere, go to the show, then we'd meet people and see the familiar faces and connect all the dots, and then you build up a community of people that actually know each other, that would rather work with each other off the strength of a friendship as opposed to how much money they want to give you for a verse. Do you know what I mean? So. Yeah, we was talking about that earlier. Still,
yeah, man.
But there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like the whole socializing thing and all that. But I'm just saying, it's like now it just seems like everybody's a rapper, and it's like we don't have enough fans. Whereas when I was a rapper, I was still a fan of everybody else. I was buying Gunshot records. I was buying Hijack records. I was buying Hard Noise records. Well, I wasn't. They were giving it to me because we were friends and whatever. But I'm saying there was other ways we were supporting each other. You know? And it was a big movement. There was something happening. But it's no coincidence that right now, like, I mean, when we were in the charts, even before we got in the charts, there was a vibe. And you know, I could go to one place, I don't know, I could go to Penzance and then from Penzance move on the next day to Plymouth, then to Exeter, then to Bristol, then go around the country and do 30, 40 shows in a row in the space of a month. Whereas now, it's like, you know, you have to wait for like a year to find out when the next show's on.
Certain spots as well. It's only certain places they've like decreased certain areas to put on shows. Like nowadays, it's all the big cities that do it. And back in the day, like I was seeing Raekwon in Taunton.
This is exactly what I'm saying. Like, so it's deep. Do you know what I mean? But look, if we go back to the days, like if we go back to the days when I was saying that we used to stand on the streets, or I used to stand on the streets and sell records. The thing is, I had a self-belief, and I was mentally strong enough to go, look, I'm not scared of success or failure. Whatever comes, comes. But I feel like, you know, that strength that I had, like, enabled me to stand on the streets and achieve what I achieved. And I had a few friends around me that were always there to inspire me. But I also knew that sometimes I had to call people that I know that were going to be negative because I needed to write something that was fire. So, you know what I mean? I would use their negativity to write something that was fire. But there was one situation, and I've never spoken about this, but I will speak about it now. There was one situation where I know a friend of mine is always really tired. And I thought, right, I'm going to recite this verse to him. And if he falls asleep, then I know this is shit. And funny thing was, I was in the middle of reciting the verse, and I can just hear.
Shit.
And I thought, or something.
Yeah, and I just thought, you know what, scrap that.
Best way to gauge it.
Is my mate gonna fall asleep?
Oh, fucking hell.
I'll never forget it. Gareth, I haven't forgotten you for that. You fucking fell asleep on me while I was reciting a verse. He's my son's godfather now.
Killed him off, girl.
So I mean, we might as well go back and talk about 521, your platform that you've built, and it seems like you've gone kind of full circle in a way, starting as like an independent artist, and now being a kind of an advocate of the kind of the independent scene by creating a platform to showcase these people. So what kind of inspired you to do that? Because I listened to the Ramesh podcast, and you talked about your business that you kind of packed in order to kind of pursue this. So was that kind of a long time in the making, and what's the kind of reception been so far? Because obviously we only see what we see on social media. I'm part of the group as well, the WhatsApp group and everything else, and it seems like a community is really starting to build. But how's it all going? Just from a kind of straight from a horse's mouth, as it were.
All right. Okay, so let me start at the beginning. Why did I start the business? As in what I'm doing with 521. Why did I start that? Okay, so many years ago, when I walked away from the music industry for my own reasons, some of my friends know what those reasons are. Some don't. Some give a shit. Some don't. Whatever. Right? But I started manufacturing CDs as a business, and the reason I started that in the beginning was literally so I could pay the bills and feed my family. But within 3 to 4 months, I recouped all my money. Within another 4 months, I went and spent about 45, 47 grand buying more equipment. Another 6 months later, I spent another 80 grand buying equipment, and I built the business up to a point where I was broke because I spent all the money that came into invest in the business. But then, I could see what was happening. And my first ever client was Boombox Distribution. Right? So anyway, what it was is when I started the business, the CD business, I was looking at the prices the competition were charging, and they were all charging 99p a unit for your basic promos. So I thought, you know what? It doesn't cost that much to make them. I got to recoup my money for the machines I bought and all that, but I will charge 45p. So I did that, and I said, when the company builds, I'll take it back up to 89p. So I'm still better than the competition, but at least I'm paid similar to what they are. Anyway, when I made back my money so quick, I just thought, screw all of that. I'm going to keep the prices low, and I'm going to help artists, because like a lot of artists are struggling. They don't know what they're doing. They're all just manufacturing stuff and hoping for the best. Yeah. And I thought I was saving money. Now, at that time, when I was doing the CDs, there was a lot of companies out there you'd go to get 1,000 CDs in jewel cases, and you'd be paying anything from sort of £800 to £1,100. When you came to me, you were paying 500. Yeah, I sorted out so many deals. So I figured out in my head, I'm helping these people. And that made me feel really good. That made me feel good about myself. And I gave credit notes. I was giving discounts. I was, even with the price being so little, I would still give other artists discounts. You know what I mean? So I wasn't driven by money or anything. I was just happy that I was able to help people. And every night I went to bed happy.
So that's a community, a support and community you're trying to build. Yeah.
And anybody who's had CDs done with me would know. You know what I mean? All they have to do is just, I don't know. I mean, I remember one time, Valentine's Day, I went out with the missus, and I remember Genesis Elijah had put a post up on his Facebook page talking about, I think it was something to do with, if there was one guy in UK hip hop I'd want to be like, it would be Blade. And then he explained why. And I had only just got onto Facebook. Right? And all I had was like 400 or 500 ping, ping, ping. Everyone Blade helped me, Blade helped me, Blade gave me discounts, Blade this. And so before that, I didn't realize how many people I actually had helped. You know what I mean? And it made me good about myself. So I kind of made it my mission to carry on helping. So I carried on giving people discounts and whatever. But then it came to a point when streaming music kind of took over. and people didn't need CDs as much. So 5 years ago, I started planning doing 521. However, my son then turns around and says, I want to be a rapper. And I'm like, okay, we'll put 521 on hold. Although we didn't have the name for the channel then. It was just I wanted to do a channel. I wanted to help in another way because artists on the street level weren't coming for CDs as much. And if they were, it was small runs. Whereas record labels and PR companies were still coming for them. But I don't need to necessarily help the people that have already got their system set up. So when my son said he wanted to rap, I invested a lot of time and money into that. And it fell apart. Whatever the reasons are, it's not going into for this, you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily something I even want to discuss anyway. But then when that fell apart, I just thought, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go back to my plan for doing the channel. I've already got the logo for 521. I've already got the truck with the logo and everything already printed on it. I've got the setup. All I need is the room. So I got the room together and everything, and that was it. 521 was born. And for me,
it looks amazing, man. It looks incredible. Like it's really the production levels and everything else really elevates the scene. You know, I think that's really needed because you have kind of it presented in a format that people are actually going to watch. And it's important in the kind of information age and YouTube and everything else to be creating content that people are actually going to watch from start to finish, you know. And you know, if you compromise on quality, sometimes people don't necessarily stick around. So it's good that you've really focused on, you know, getting the look and the branding like really on point. It looks really dope, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, look, the thing is, there are a lot of people that do podcasts. And in my humble opinion, I think a lot of people do podcasts for their own benefit. I didn't want to do that for myself. I thought I want to do something that is going to, like, you know, like we've said this word a couple of times now, community. The thing is, yeah, I would like to make money off of this one day. But yeah, I would also like for other people to be able to make money off of it. So imagine a central hub where people can come to, where they see their videos, like where they see all the videos that are out there, and then promoters come to a central hub where, you know, they know that they can discover new artists here who wants to keep booking the same acts every month. You know what I mean? There's so many different talents that don't even get a look in. You know what I mean? And you know, like Rob, how many shows have you done?
Since when?
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, the reality is, if I was to say to you, I've done like 2,000 shows in my career, right? I mean, would you go anywhere? I'm not trying to compare my...
No, not 2,000. No, not 2,000. Hundreds. Right. It's in the hundred, in the low hundreds, maybe.
How many of those have elevated you to another level?
They haven't, and very few of them have paid.
Okay, now this is what I'm trying to get at. Now imagine if we built a scene where people started taking what you're doing serious because it's all looking good. You're presenting yourself better because you're now in a better environment. And you know what I'm saying? Now you got PR companies, record labels, all them people. They did it with grime, with GRM Daily. Why can't we do it with hip hop?
That's right.
You know, and that's basically what I'm trying to get at. So, you know, when I started 521, it was with the intention of creating a platform that is just going to benefit everyone in the long run. But the hardest part of this, and I was aware of this, was convincing people to just have faith and believe in something. And I'll tell you why I say that, because there's a lot of artists out there that wake up already accepting defeat. Like, you know, most of the artists that I know, like, you know, even the seasoned ones, you know, people that I really respect highly, they've now just gone, I'm just making music because I want to make music. You know what I'm saying? And it's, for me, it's heartbreaking to see that. You know what I mean? Because I actually give a shit about all of you artists. Now, I'm not just saying this for camera. Rob, you know me. You've spoken to me. So you understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And I just feel like, you know, if you can have a platform for grime and you can have a platform for drill and all that kind of stuff, why can we not have something for underground hip hop? But for me, I want to do it as a whole music channel and eventually get round to getting rock acts and all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you the reason why I want to do that. Because UK hip hop is small. Right? And it's small because people have stifled it themselves. Right? So what I want to do, Rob doesn't agree with me.
No, when you say
I partly agree.
When you say stifled it themselves, so just, I mean, my interpretation of just the scene as a whole is that it is very, very small. Obviously, it's a sound that was initially derived from the US. So to a lot of people, it's never had its own. It has got its own identity, but it never got. People who are outside of the scene don't typically view it that way, if that makes sense. And most of the scene happen to be artists themselves. That's how I find it. Like a lot of the yeah.
Well, there's more artists.
Exactly. And some are of the mindset that there's probably like an oversaturation of like, let's just say like poor to average hip hop could be detrimental to the scene. So it's just finding a way to kind of elevate it to a point where it should be. But then there are people who kind of sit where they're like, well, it's supposed to be underground anyway, and that's the whole appeal to it. So we're in a bit of a catch-22. Do you see what I mean?
Rob,
what's your view, man?
Just going back to the different, the sounds within the genre, I think people will only listen to the UK hip hop and they will disregard a chunk of UK hip hop, and just because it doesn't sound like UK hip hop. Do you understand what I mean? It's the whole going back to the whole juggernaut thing. Do you know what I mean?
So anyone listening to this podcast and not actually watching it, there's a lot of inverted commas going on with their fingers.
Little bunny is going on, right? But yeah, it goes back to that juggernaut thing. Like if you compare someone like Jugs to, I don't know, let's say.
Jugs is the wrong word to use right now after this.
Juggernaut, right? If you compare like fucking hell, there you go. The intern, the mistake, worst taken away. There you go. But yeah, no, if you compare Juggernaut to like, let's say, someone who's more traditionally UK hip hop, like a Fliptrix or something, his fans or his demographic won't necessarily listen to Jugs, and they might write him off in comparison because of his style, which I think is absolutely ludicrous.
He's sick though.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's like one of the best.
and that's maybe why Jallow Point doesn't fuck with a lot of UK heads, is because of that attitude, and he fucks with a lot of American heads. And there's only certain people that will. This is what I'm trying to say.
With what I'm doing with the channel, I'm hoping to bring people like that more to the forefront. But I can only bring people to the forefront if they want to play ball as well. Like, if I'm going to keep chasing you to come on the show, for example, there's going to come a point where I'm just going to go, you know what? I can't be asked. I can go and get Elvis Presley from his grave.
Just to answer that, I will come on the show. We're there. It's just going to happen.
I wasn't naming that at you.
Blade's going to sign your tits as well, Rob.
I'm working on them. Fuck you.
Hit the gym, mate.
But yeah, look. Ultimately, I just feel like, for me as a channel, I'm not the person to dictate what's good and what's bad. Yeah, I put product out there that I get supplied. For example, if you send me videos, I'll put them out there. Yeah. And then it's for the public to judge whether they like it or not. However, when we put videos on the channel, because the channel is new, the artists need to kind of push it themselves. And instead of putting it on their Insta with IGTV and on their own channel and stuff, which basically will only get a certain amount of followers and whatever, because it's so underground. What I'm trying to say to people, look, let's build a central platform. It doesn't necessarily have to be my platform, but any platform. And get the stuff to there and then push everyone there. Your fans will discover their fans will discover you, and it'll just keep circulating like that until eventually, when you look back 2 years from now, or when you look 2 years from now and you go, let's look back at what happened, and you'll see where it all began. And now, instead of getting 200 views, you're getting 20,000 views. And then a year later, it could be 100,000 views, 400,000 views. But it's so hard.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but it's not going to happen if people don't play ball. And like
But
I
then,
said,
where does money fuck it up?
well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got your video, right, and you've like, I'm not monetizing any of the videos on the channel. Right,
But you,
the only things I can monetize, right, like basically, if you've got your distribution deal, once you've got that distribution deal in place, nobody can then go behind your back and monetize it. No matter where your video goes, it's still going to be monetized to the distributor, who's then going to pay you from the plays if it deserves any payment. But there's a lot of misunderstanding where people go, oh, but if I send it to you, then I got views here, views there. How about you stop thinking that way? And how about you go, well, if I went on Choice FM, the listeners of Choice FM would check that. And then if I went to One Extra, the listeners of One Extra would check that. And you know what I'm saying? So just because your video's in different platforms, it doesn't mean you're going to get any less views. It just means more people that necessarily don't check you out on the other channel may check you out on this one.
everything's very social media heavy nowadays. I think I think a lot of artists kind of fall foul of having that kind of one track mind social media outlet, and it's kind of it can either work really, really well, or it can not work. And that's why, for me personally, like, gigs were really important. Again, it's forming that thing, or getting yourself heard on the radio. You know, they were so important. But I think artists need to be a bit more knowledgeable, including myself, because I find it hard too. You know, I find it hard trying to motivate myself when I don't know where to go. Do you know what I mean? And I'm old. Like, I'm, you know, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this shit for you know. I'm not going to stop, to be fair, but like, you know, it's only so long you can hit the brick wall for.
I mean, the important thing is, as long as you enjoy it, carry on, because you never know when you're going to get that one break.
That's why,
You never know. You could be 75 and suddenly it just all happens.
Got number one, 75.
But I'm just saying. But look, the thing is, I'm not expecting everyone to kind of
But that's the attitude, though. That's the thing. Sorry to interrupt. That's the attitude, though. Like, I think I've only ever seen one person, or two, maybe two, but recently one person to say, I am going to have a number one in the UK charts. That's from our scene, from this scene, and that was Jugs. Jugs said it. He said it in a tweet or something. He said, like, I will have a track in the top 10 or something like that one day, and he said it. But you don't see the people that the whole kind of scene looks up to say that. They don't say those types of things. They just run the underground labels, or they run their albums out, and they don't seem to have any more aspirations that's further than the scene. Do you understand? But whereas, like, back in the day, I think there was like you had like yourself, you had your like crossover tune with the rock tune of, you know, Don't See the Signs and that. So that was kind of that had a bit more of a crossover effect. But even that,
just checking to see the battery. I think the battery's running out. Shit.
But yeah, like I was saying, people in our scene don't have those aspirations. They're limited by the genre. There don't seem to be any further aspirations from it, apart from a few other people. And that's, I think, maybe the scene needs a bit more of that. Like GRM, all the people from GRM Daily, they've graduated to Radio 1, you know, One Extra, to Radio 1, to being in the charts and stuff. You know, there's names. I can't name them because I don't listen to them, but I guarantee there is. Yeah?
I think it's that kind of stigma with, like, UK hip-hop versus grime, where grime is kind of something that came from the UK. It is very much kind of like its identity was born in the UK. So it's kind of had more commercial success, and a lot
people
of
can attach to it. Yeah.
A lot of young people growing up don't look at UK hip hop and relate to it, whereas they look at grime and they relate to it. So it's just kind of a reflection of the environment, right? So so
but what's the difference between like a Wretch and like you know, someone from UK hip hop, you know, a rapper from the UK hip hop scene? What's the difference?
Well, there isn't really, but it's just in terms of, I guess, bars, content, style, all of that kind of thing. There's a very like distinct difference between delivery in grime and delivery in UK hip hop. And
Wretch, but I'm saying like Wretch is more like, you know, he can rap.
Gets for example.
Gets,
man.
yeah, Gets is the same as well. He can rap, rap his ass off. And there's probably people within UK hip hop again that can rap their ass off too, but they won't get the shine. Why don't they want to cross over? Why don't they cross over? Is it them stopping themselves? Is it other people stopping them? Or is it, I don't know, is that stigma pulling them back, holding them back? the UK hip hop thing?
I don't know, man. I don't know how to answer
Sorry.
that.
Look, the thing is, we can go on constantly talking about the problems in the scene and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not really looking to talk about the problems. I'm looking to find solutions. And the only way we're going to find solutions is to bang heads together with people that actually want to achieve the same things. It's pointless. It's pointless banging heads with people that go, yeah, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. And then as soon as you give them a task, it's like they're nowhere to be seen. Like, literally, look behind me. You're going to start seeing friggin' tumbleweeds and whatever. You know?
Yeah,
So,
man. So out of the people who've come through so far, like if you had like Lab 79, like Manage, MC Killer, Skirmish, those guys are just like legends anyway. Has there been anyone that we've obviously mentioned Barbarian, but has there been anyone else you've discovered recently and thought like, rah, like this person literally has like a really, you know, if he's shown to the right people, gets in front of the right people, they could do really well.
Yeah, look, the stuff that was here on the weekend was just ridiculous. I felt like, oh my God, whatever, like it was like going back to my youth when me and my friends used to be breakdancing and whatever, and it was just a lot of fun. Like everyone got along. There were so many people here, and it was just really, really sick. You know what I mean? But look, ultimately, it's like I said, I am trying to create a platform where artists get appreciated for what they do. And I just don't think social media is giving them that platform. I think social media works for people who are already big names. They got big followings, and by big followings, I'm talking like 2, 3, 400,000, not your 50,000. Even 50,000 is kind of like, look, I see the world in a different way to what most of the people see the world. Yeah. So how I see the world is this: if you go to a guy who's never seen more than a pound, and you show him a guy who's seen 10 pounds, he's gonna think, well, oh, that guy's got 10 pounds. Oh my God, he's rich. But then if you go to a guy with 100 pounds, he's gonna look at both of them and go, you know what I mean? Like, I've got 100 pounds, you know. And these guys are gonna be like, raw, he's a millionaire, that guy. You know what I mean? And so what I'm saying is, we're dealing with a scene where none of the artists have really achieved anything major. Yeah. So they've become used to just kind of, it's got to that point where they're just putting records out, and now it's almost become like, well, if I make a couple grand, that's a couple of extra grand, and I don't have to stack shelves of Tesco's. I'd rather do the music than that. I'm saying, if the guys in grime can go on and make millions, what is to stop even a handful of the UK hip hop artists? I mean, people like G-Bag and Kashmir and Chester P and Reliance Cypher, they deserve all of that. Skinny Man, you know what I mean? They deserve all of that. They've paid the dues, they've, you know, paved the way. But I'm not trying to be a judge, jury, executioner, or whatever. I'm just trying to do what I can to contribute. And if people want to jump on board, they jump on board. If they don't, that's fine. There's millions of artists out there. And like I said, you know, it's open. The floodgates are there because I'm not just trying to deal with hip hop, you know. But it's gone that way at the moment because I'm a hip hop artist, so most people know me for hip hop. Do you know what I mean? But somewhere along the lines, when the pandemic ends and I go out and start meeting people, I might even buy myself a mop and like put it on my head and pretend it's a wig or something, and you know, entertain people. Yeah, I'm different. I ain't hip hop. Put my head swinging, whatever. I mean,
You ain't doing that.
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. But you understand what I'm saying? It's like, you know, there has to be some kind of growth, but I don't know what the answer is. You just got to keep going. But in the earlier question you asked how it's going really well. You know, I
Good,
mean,
man.
you know, like I was expecting kind of a lot of stifling, a lot of whatever. And yeah, there's downsides. Sometimes I'm sitting there going, I wish more people sent me more videos and had more faith, and you know what I mean? But that's not going to stop me carrying on doing the interviews or the live performances. And you get cancellations, and you know, you start, you know, when you talk to people, like the other day, someone cancelled. I'm not going to say who. Someone cancelled, and when I was listening to them talking, in my mind, all I'm thinking is, wow, you got a defeatist attitude. Do you know what I mean? And I had to say to them, like, it sounds like you wake up in the morning with no incentive to do anything. That you are now looking at music as like, it's just something I do. And You know, and so what if you don't go nowhere?
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. But wouldn't it be better if you just went, so what if it doesn't go nowhere, but I'm still going to have fun with it? And this is a bit of fun. Let me go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference between the two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%, man. It's like you got to meet halfway. You know, you got to like there's got to be a point where you just meet in the middle. Can't just be you chasing people. You got, as you said earlier, you reach a point where you kind of exhaust your effort on one person. You're like, no, you know what? It's like I've asked you several times. Like, there's only you can lead a horse to water. That kind of expression in it.
It's tiring. Listen, right? Before Mark V got signed to Virgin, like the Source actually it was, and then we got moved up to Virgin. Yeah, well he didn't. I got moved up to Virgin, and then I walked away from it. Right, but before Mark V signed to Virgin, to Source, sorry, keep saying it because it's habit now. Before he got signed to Source, we went and did interview. I think it was at Oxford University. Oh, it was a radio station in Oxford anyway, and it was a small radio station. And the A&R guy there was a guy called David Laub. Sorry, not the A&R, the radio DJ there was a guy called David Laub. Yeah. A year later, David Laub person. So what I'm saying is, you just don't know. Do you understand? You go and do a radio show thinking you're just turning up to do a radio show, and a year later, that same radio DJ is now A&R and is signing you.
Yeah.
So every opportunity you turn down is an opportunity that you kind of.
It's good networking. You have to, you know, put your best foot forward and put on a, you know, sell yourself as an individual and not just as a rapper. You have to be that good person as well.
I can give you a perfect scenario. Many years ago, I got asked to go to do an interview, a radio interview at Newcastle University, right? And I'm pretty sure it was Newcastle, 100% sure it was Newcastle, right? But when I went there to do the interview, I got there, I spent the night in a hotel. I borrowed a couple of £100 to get there and spend the night in a hotel. I was on the dole, I had no money. And I got there and did the interview, 10 minutes. I went all that way from Southeast London to Newcastle for a 10-minute radio interview. A couple of weeks later, the head of student union called me up and offered me a show. Right? Now, bear in mind at this particular time, the most I've got paid is £500 for a show. My man is there thinking I must be making like serious money because of the way I conduct myself and whatever. And he's offered me £8,000. And I'm there going, well, I don't know.
Fake it till you make it, man.
Well, no, but I didn't fake it though. I didn't say anything. He just offered it. But then I faked it a little bit after that by going, I usually get £10,000, but you know what? Let's just do it.
Well played, man.
Yeah, so, you know what I mean? I'm just like, it's a couple of grand. What's a couple of grand between, a rapper and a student union leader? You know what I mean?
I'm going to try that.
It came from just going there because I wanted to do a 10-minute interview. Because you just don't know who's going to watch you, and like 3 seconds of what you do that's going to turn it into something else. 3 seconds can make a difference.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of that kind of like one-on-one interaction, obviously, like coming from the era you came from, like the analog era, where it was very much like, you know, meeting in person and the community feel, and now everything's kind of done just over like Instagram Messenger. There's that kind of lack of, you know what I mean? It's like you can build rapport easier in person with people.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a girl that's a really good singer, yeah, and I like what she does. I've reached out to her, and it took her 2 weeks to respond back. In that time, I've given up on her.
Yeah.
And then when she responded, I've gone, oh wow, she responded. So I thought, okay, I'll give it another try. Then we talked for a couple of minutes or 10 minutes or something.
I feel that because there's so much content to digest, like on a daily basis, like people just get easily distracted. People's attention spans are so small. Do you know what I mean? So when it comes to actually having a one-on-one conversation with someone that has any kind of meaning, a lot of people struggle with it. That's just real, you know.
Yeah, I was writing some lyrics give me a second. I was writing some lyrics, and I said this. I'm not going to recite the whole thing, but I'll say this. I used to believe in miracles. It's amazing what you can achieve with a pen and a pad, a whole heap of self-belief, a microphone into which to recite your lyricals. Typical. Do something creative and the whole world is cynical. Twerk what God gave you and men lose their minds to proportions that are biblical.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
It's like that's the distraction you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can sit there and watch, I don't know, Chester's new video, which is like really, really amazing as well. Like for low budget, there was no budget. He did it all there. And I mean, who's going to question Chester as a talent? Nobody. You know what I mean? Like, ridiculous MC and what a humble human being it is. But you got someone like that and you're watching him, and then YouTube is suggesting some woman twerking, and you're switching over to watch a woman twerking, and you're forgetting that Chester's even there. How is that right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Diversion tactics.
The fickle nature of man.
Of algorithms.
You know,
the fickle nature of algorithms.
The folly of man. Yeah, algorithms can fuck off.
Yeah, but the problem isn't social media. The problem is the humans that get caught in the trap of social media.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they've allowed themselves to be trapped. Mm-hmm. I'm not allowing myself to be trapped. I'm still going on my path how I'm going on my path. You know what I mean? Like, if we go back to when I said in the early days, you asked me about my early days. I stood on the streets and sold records because I believed in myself. Yeah. And I remember something I said to somebody, and I said this, I am so focused at this precise moment in my life that if I was to go from New Cross to Lewisham, walking, yeah, to pay my bills on that particular day, and you put 100 naked girls with all colors, like different races, different shapes, different sizes, all that kind of stuff, and you put them all there, butt naked, dressed up like, butt naked up against the wall, like every 5 meters, and there's a different girl every 5 meters. I'm just being that eunuch and I'm walking on. I am walking. That's how focused I was. You know what I mean? And even if you ended up, I might take a sneak peek when I'm coming back. But I am so focused that I'm not letting naked girls be a distraction. And, it's crazy that I used to say that to people back in the days. And now it's the twerking and cats falling off of roofs that's distracting everybody. And it just, all it does is show me how weak humans really are.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It's twofold, isn't it? Because there are people who allow themselves to be caught up in it, but ultimately these apps are designed in a way to trap, like our impulses and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's there to kind of capitalize on how we are. Like, we're creatures of habit, unfortunately. But yeah, it's fucked up, man.
Obviously, I'm not expecting you to agree with things I'm saying, and maybe there's millions of people out there who don't agree because, who wants to be told that you're weak and you're just watching the twerkers, and
I'm a weak man.
You know that saying about you are what you eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you are what you watch as well. If you're watching all the twerking, you must be a twerk.
That's why they call it a feed, innit? They call it a feed. Information feed. You are what you eat.
There you go,
man. Every day's a school day. That just blew my mind a little.
We just blew the fucking world in half. There you go.
I don't have the answers. All I'm trying to do is figure out the answers for what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that when I find the answers for what I'm doing, it's going to benefit a lot of people. That this isn't about one person. This is the reason why when I get MCs coming in here to do a performance and all that kind of stuff, what do I tell them? Ask most of them. I'll say to them, do not mention Blade. Mention 521. This is not about Blade. Mm-hmm. When I do my interviews with people, it's like generally I'll try and drop a little Blade story in there so that it entices them into telling a story about them. But when we edit it, I take my story out because it's not about Blade. It's about you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Words. Yep. But this podcast is about you, though, man. Do you know what I mean? This is showcase on Blade, but it's obviously good to get the bigger picture. But before we kind of wrap things up, What are you listening to at the moment? I'm curious. Do you listen mainly to kind of hip hop, or do you listen to kind of all genres? I know you mentioned that 521's a platform for eventually going to be for all genres. So yeah, what are you listening to at the moment, man?
I mean, look, when I was doing the CD business for 15 years, all I was doing was listening to customer music. So sometimes it would be hip hop, sometimes I saw everything coming in from High Focus, so I was listening to everything. Like if I create a master, I copy it, then I listen to it to make sure it's all fine. So you don't want to go into the manufacture with all glitches and shit, you know? So, so I was listening to customer music. So I got to familiarize myself with a lot of different types of music. When I was a rapper, I didn't accept pop music and whatever in the same way. Like, you know, like, whereas now, as a person that's kind of gone into the CD business and everything, I now accept other forms of music because I've heard so much good stuff. And that's what made me want to do the channel as a all music genre thing, you know. But unfortunately, like I said, everyone knows me for hip hop, so they all think that I'm a hip hop guy. But, you know, which is great. I appreciate. At the moment, I've gone back to listening to hip hop artists that are saying something. Yeah, like you know your Chester P's, your G Bag. I mean, G Bag is a character, really,
He's crazy,
and
crazy.
that's what I'm saying. And also, like, I mean, not to take anything away from people like Sublingual and all that. You know, it's that because of the level of MCs that I knew were coming in, I was kind of expecting Joe Sublingual not to be on that kind of level. But
Oh,
yo, he held his
yeah.
what dude? Like I was literally standing there, raw. I didn't expect that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And
that's hard.
it's those little surprises that get you. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
then that's when you start realizing that, you know, there's so much talent out there that is untapped. And all these people are all in the one space, like you say, that small world, that Insta world, that Facebook world. They're all trying to push these buttons to be heard, and no one's checking them. And then you got your handful of friends and whatever. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. You know the answer better than me. You're younger than me. You're more in touch.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that, man.
I don't know.
I
I'm
mean,
not even touching my 40s, mate. I'll just moisturise.
you had Ashley Orfer in at the weekend as well, didn't you? He's
Yeah.
dope.
Shout out to Ash.
But I knew I was going to expect something good from him anyway, so I didn't panic. You know what I mean? Because I know Ash's work already. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even put him in that equation. But yeah, what a talent there as well, because you done something with him, and that's you know what I mean. When I saw that video, I was like, "Raw, Ash is
Yeah,
back." You know
Ash
what I
is
mean?
crazy. He did one of my
Yeah,
favorite albums of that summer when he dropped. It was Apex, wasn't it? Is that what it's called? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with
that album, my album of the summer, and it got me.
TB Assy,
I
sick
was on,
producer as well.
yeah, I was on holiday, and
Such a good record.
it's such a fucking sick album. Yeah,
thing is, like, look, social media is like a gun, in it. In the hands of the right person, you
wow.
can do a lot with it. In the hands of the wrong person, it'll cause a lot of destruction. I'm saying, like I said, I don't know the answers, but I see, like, and there's a lot of illusion. Like there's all these people that go on. I'm an influencer. I got 400,000 followers, and look at my art and whatever they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, say somebody like let me name my friend Kish Cash. Right
Yeah,
now,
shout out to Kish Cash. Yeah,
dude, like like I the number of trainers I see him like putting up on his page and everything, and I'm like, I wish I
you
had
did
money
the
for that.
video. You did the parody video, innit, with your trainers.
Saying it's like I say he's a prick because he always brings these trainers that are like £1 million, and I can't afford it.
Yeah, yeah. I see. Yeah, I know. I'm the same because I'm into it as well. And then he gets every single train. I'm like, how do you get all these shoes all the time? Because it ain't
Yeah,
that
but
easy to get them shoes.
that is an influencer with a purpose, and you know what I mean. Like I've had friends of mine just kind of sometimes going, oh, it's like them colors don't really suit him and whatever, and he shouldn't be wearing that as an older man. And it's like,
He
what are you
smashes
talking
it.
about?
No, you can't. No, you can't front on his trip. No way. No way.
I actually messaged him the other day saying to him, I'm pretty much envious that everything suits you.
He
How do
looks.
you do it? 'Cause,
He looks cool, mate. That's it. You
yeah,
can't front on him. Nah.
he does, but he's got character with it, and you know what I mean. Everything, the hats, the colors,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. The
You know,
whole lot. I look at
I
his
think
fits and think, how can I dress like him? And he's older than
yeah,
me.
but the only one that kind of threw me off a little bit was when he dressed up like the Michelin Man, and
Oh,
he
with
had all
the yeah, 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 yeah. But I get it. He made it look fresh though, still, right?
Yeah, yeah, he made it look fresh, but I was like, yo, I don't think I'll be wearing that. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Yeah, but that was it. That was the only time when I kind of thought. But anyway, look, yeah, I've got missions and I've got ambitions. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's just about keeping focused and like obviously, if you see that there's something missing from the channel, or if you know artists that you think should be on here and whatever, and you want to let me know, I'm more than happy to But what I mean, you're talking about my channel, but what you guys are doing is sick as well, because there were so many people now coming back to me and saying, "Yo, you should get on Shotgun the Oath," and you know what I mean. I'm like, yeah, I'm waiting for them to contact me, but
Yeah, man, that's the thing. I mean, like, there's literally, like, UK hip hop, we say there's no money. There's literally not even that in podcasting when it comes to UK hip hop. So this is just, it's basically just like me and my ones. Rob's kind of stepped in like fairly recently. We started doing like album reviews and kind of just keeping it in house a bit more because it's more fun. Ultimately we started off doing this thing out of a love for hip hop and UK hip hop, and doing the album reviews has been really good. But
yeah.
when it comes to kind of interviews and stuff, like before the pandemic, we were just doing it all around my flat. So I had like all kinds of people come through, like Verb T, like Verbs, like Compound, like all like Pav from Foreign Beggars, all come through to the flat. Do you know what I mean? And we properly record, have a night of it, and
well,
then
when was that? Because
literally 20 like. Hmm?
Pav is not even in the UK now, is he?
No, it was just before that. No, it was because he had kind of stuff with like travel and all of that kind of stuff, and he's been in India for some time now. But it was literally just before. It was 20. Is it 2019? Yeah, it would have been 2019. He was round just before he went off, and just before Foreign Beggars disbanded because they had the final gig in London. I think it was like November time. Because
Yeah, I
they
remember.
dropped Matriarchy, didn't they? The final album, and yeah, it was around that time. So yeah, it was just one of those things. We just started off, and it was it was crazy, but just in order to sustain it, like my missus was going mad, obviously, because it's like me and her in the flat, and every week all these rappers would just come through and sit and chat and like like smoke and drink and all of that, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay. So doing it over the internet during the lockdown gave a bit more flexibility as well. Like I could talk to people, like there's a couple of people in the States and like people up north as well. So it just made things a bit easier. But again, there's no money in it, so it's just me contacting people, finding a time, have people reaching out all the time saying, "Oh, can you get so and so on for an interview?" And if I'm long to respond, it's not because I'm like I don't want to. It's just physically having the time. Do you know what I mean? It's just difficult as you know. But I
Yeah,
do always try my best to.
mate. Seriously, what you're doing is it's inspirational, because like if we had more people like me, you, and just people generally doing what we're doing, and we all kind of push together. Look, there's nothing to say people that you've interviewed or got on the show can't come on here. People that we've got can't come on there, and just build it like that, because like the more people there is, the more people start seeing. Because at the moment, I feel there are people out there that feel they can't reach out to us or can't
Hmm.
reach out to you. Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah,
Unless you know someone in that circle. Do you know what I mean? Like I've reached out to a couple of people and they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you asked me." It's like, why?
yeah.
You should have reached out to me.
Hmm. And I
It's
watched
mad
your
though, but it is mad though having, it's your blade, isn't it? So you kind of feel that
Yeah,
you're up here, but I know you're at the same time you're now knowing you and speaking to you and knowing what you're like and stuff. You're very down to earth and you can chat all day long. But when you're up here, you're like up there, and we're just down here.
but you know what? Like when I was doing the music and everything, there was a boundary kind of pretty much between artist and fan. Yeah, like artists would stay in the backstage area, and only those privileged enough would go back there and meet them and all that kind of stuff. And then the fans would kind of get ushered. Sorry, the artists would kind of get ushered out of the arena or whatever, and it would be less contact between fans and artists. When I went to the shows, do you know the kind of shit that I was doing? I was getting fans in the audience to come up on stage and rap and beatbox and DJ, breakdance, whatever. so I could show people that there was talent on their doorstep. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
always been that guy that's always been about, yo, let's show people there's more of us. And I don't care if you're better than me. Be better than me. You know what I mean?
Show them lot, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I'm not insecure. I'm not that insecure to worry about whether you're gonna be better than me or not. I
No.
want, I stood on stage and I got Capo and Scorsese to come on stage and rap. It got to a point where I just went, guys, you know what? You lot take the mic. I'm just gonna chill. I mean, and it was that, and I was just like, yo, at least I get to drink a Red Bull. You know what I mean?
Still breaking it.
Oh,
What do
Capo's
you
not
say to
human,
Capo
man.
and Scores? You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, but what I'm saying is I'm humble enough, like, to be like, yo, it's like these guys are sick. People need to hear them. And it was
Mhm.
the only thing that was a shame about it was that it was in their hometown where everyone already knows them. Do you know what I'm saying? So imagine if that was at the Eminem support and I called him up,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But look, the point I was trying to make is when I was doing what I was doing, one of my aims was to break down the boundaries between fans and artists. So when I used to do shows, I used to sometimes say to the promoters, like if a promoter's struggling and he's going, oh, I don't know if I can afford like 2 like rooms, hotel rooms or whatever, or 3 or whatever, right? I used to go like, bro, you know what? Save your money. I'll just stand on stage and tell people, yo, the show's over. I got nowhere to stay. Anyone got a spare room? Right? I've actually slept. The 2 places that I remember sleeping. One was in a bathtub, right? My person said they had a spare room. I got there and it's just a bathroom with a bathtub, and they're like, "There you go." I'm like, next time I should clarify what kind of room I'm looking for. And I've said this one before, yeah. But I slept in someone's flat, and when I went there, they had hair clippings on the floor. We all kind of just had drinks and whatever. I don't drink, but Lucas ate and whatever. And went to their flat afterwards for a little after party, get together, whatever. And it was cool. It was really good. It was in Scotland, yeah. And I forget whose flat it was. I think it might have even been Defy. But yeah. So I'm there, and I was gonna sleep on the floor, but there's hair clippings. Someone's cut their hair, and there's all hair on the floor, and no one's hoovered it up or anything. So I'm like, oh, I ain't sleeping on that. Then I decided to sleep the night in a chair. So
Mhm.
I'm sleeping in this chair, and in the morning I wake up and there's a cat sitting on my head and it's pissed on me.
No, man.
No, I was going to tell my boat story. We slept on a boat.
You know,
We played a
say again.
little. We played a little gig. It was like it was a long time ago. We played like a little gig in Chichester, I think it was, right? And we had nowhere to stay, and our lifter kind of got pissed, so we couldn't drive home. So we were like, okay, and we managed to get talking to some people wherever we were, and they go, oh yeah, come back to ours. We can have a little after party. And we we're like, cool. And we got there, and we're like, yeah, nah, like our parents are in bed, and we're like, what? Like, what the fuck are you on about? But yeah, but we can go on the boat. We got parked outside our house. It's like, what do you mean boat parked outside your house? We went outside. There's like a boat on like whatever you want to call them, whatever. It's parked outside their house. So we went on this boat and stuff like that. And we were drinking, like me, Mosik, my friend Baxter, a couple of people. Might have beeped that out. Like a few people like that. And then somebody passed out in the boat. And then they eventually ushered us inside, and we ended up sleeping inside. And my mate Baxter ended up sleeping in the boat. And that was that. And we slept in the thing. And the next day, waiting to go, we need to talk about the unknown. How can we
Yeah.
not talk about the unknown?
That's true. That's true.
How did the unknown come together? That's what we need to work out. When Tom
Okay.
says,
So I need to backtrack a little bit. So basically, what happened is in 1993, I released an album called "The Line Goes from Strength to Strength." In the early days, a couple of years before that, I met Mark B in Kingston, and I was performing. Mark booked me. We became friends from there. And then Mark kept asking me to do tracks with him, but I just felt his production wasn't really what I was after. And so I ended up like saying to Mark, like, when you get the right production, then I will do tracks with you. Because I liked him, you know what I mean? Like, I was into music, I was into melodies, I was into, getting a raw sound, a melody and making it raw. You know what I mean? But it had to be, it had to have some kind of musical element to it. Whereas Mark was just about the beat and a stab sound. So he would take, for example, a little string and go, And I kept saying, Mark, it's like, I don't like it when I can hear that someone is not musical. You can't play notes. You might as well get someone to play the keyboard or something, because you don't know what you're doing.
Mm.
I mean, it's obvious you can't play. So this is the kind of conversations me and Mark used to have. And we kept talking and kept talking. And eventually I said, look, Mark, let me show you. So then I started showing him about looping. And we used to spend hours on the phone. I used to pick out loops and he used to put it there. Then because I always said to Mark, like, with the way I like my music is so there's some kind of melody, obviously, like I said. So now, 8 years later, or 7 years later, me and Mark is like talking about, like, look, Mark, you've been on my case. I want to work with you because I like you, but something needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
What needs to change, Blade? Right. Let's spend a lot of time on the phone. So I was with this company called OneTel, who is now TalkTalk. And OneTel used to allow you to have, if you paid like £10 a month, you could have free calls for the rest of the month. Right. So I used to call Mark all the time and just stay on the phone for 5 hours at a time.
Mm.
5 in the morning, 10 in the morning. You know what I mean? And he used to play me loops. And then I used to get my records and play loops. And whenever he would play loops, I was like, yeah, take it from that point. Take it from that point. You know what I mean? Loop this. And I was like, look, Mark, I'm good at picking the loops. But you are better at drum programming than I am. Because you know how to keep it simple, whereas I just drop everything in there. And, so he done the drum programming and everything we started. When he did Hitman for Hire, that on there, I still felt something was. I just felt it was too clinical. You know what I mean? It just felt like I was in an office. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. You know, sorry about that. That's how I felt. So then, obviously, we got together. We spoke on the phone a lot, and then we had Nobody Relates, and from there you can see the Blade energy coming in the loops and all that. You know what I mean, but the drums were different. So now you
Yeah.
got idea, loops, whatever, combined with Mark's beat programming, and you know what I mean. So yeah, then he just learned how I was working, and he adopted that attitude, and next thing we know, we got the unknown. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, what a record! You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
it changed my
amazing, man.
life.
What was the first song you recorded?
The first song we recorded was actually then no, that was after the first song. What off of the Unknown album? You're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, off of that album. The first song we recorded, I believe, was from the Word Lab.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is the reason why we decided to put that as the first track on the album.
Mm.
If I remember correctly. I don't even know if it's the first track on the album, but I know we discussed it. Yeah, put that first because that's the first track. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
But yeah, so we did from the Word Lab, and then some of my tracks ended up like I don't know if you know, but there was a remix of the album, so we got re-released with 3 or 4 extra tracks, with a couple of tracks taken off. Those
Mm.
3 or 4 extra tracks were tracks from this recordings because the labels like they wanted to get the rock remix of the the You Don't See
Yeah.
the Signs with the rock remix. So they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get that on the album. They felt like adding one track wasn't going to be enough to make it different. So what they did was they took Survival of the Hardest Working, they took The Way It Has to Be, and they put that on there as well. But
Mm.
I didn't get the production credits on those, and Mark didn't produce them. I did. I mean, but
Mm.
being honest, me and Mark towards the end had a few differences and whatever, and I kept calling him to try and sort things out, but he kept ignoring the calls. And then obviously the next thing I hear is he passed away, and obviously I was shook up. I'll never forget that day. I cried. I'll be honest with you, I cried. I mean,
Mm.
so yeah, not ashamed to say that I cried. The differences. It's like really what should have happened is Mark should have known no matter what he was going through, he could have called me. And there was a bunch of people like, I'm the kind of person, Rob, if me and you do something together and we fall out over something, it's not
Mm.
enough to fall out the rest of our lives over something. We just fall out over that one matter, but
Mm-hmm.
then we'll still be up at KFC and still sit down and
Yeah,
eat
yeah.
chicken.
I
You know what
feel
I'm
yeah.
saying? And that's the kind of person I am. It's like, unless you're threatening my family or my kids or something, then there's always like, yo, we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's only when you, yeah, I mean, you know, so I would have liked to have felt like Mark could have always reached out to his friends, not just me, you know, your Vadims and your Ishans and I mean, you know, Mark Gordon, you know, so not Mark Gordon. Mark Gordon is a dancer. Mark Jordan, you know, he could have, you know, or Matty as well, and he could have reached out to a lot of people. But I don't know. It was a sad time. It was a sad time.
But the album was brilliant. And I think when I heard the album, it was like my watershed moment within my life when I heard that British music. So you, for me personally, you created something here that has taken me to where I am now. So like all I want, I could just say thank you for that, for doing that for me. Do you know what I mean? So, and if people out there haven't checked the album, they need to go and they need to hear that album all day long because you will not be disappointed by the album at all. So it stands timeless as well. It does. The production's timeless, the bars are timeless, the features are timeless.
Yeah, hip hop
It,
royalty on there.
it
Come on.
encapsulates the time that it came out, and it was just yeah.
You know what? You need to thank Mark for that collaboration because I had been so disappointed with the industry, like distributors not paying and all that kind of stuff. That I was ready. Look, if I'm being 100% honest, I was gonna give up music and go to college and study media, yeah, and advertising. And this girl said to me, "You're really good with words. You should do advertising." You know, because she was like testing me, going, "Yeah, can you come up with a slogan for this?" So I come up with a slogan. Can you come up with a slogan for this? You know, and I do all that. And I just thought, you know what, I'm wasting my time with music. I'm going to give up and I'm going to just basically go into media and advertising. And that's what I wanted to study. However, what happened is I was expecting a payment from Vadim that came late and I didn't get into college. So my acceptance didn't happen. And I had no option but to now go and record this album. And because Mark was on my case about like, let's do this. That's why that album happened. But before I just wasn't interested. I'd given up all hope, and
Really,
yeah,
wow,
no.
wow.
So I gave up all hope,
So
and
you were about to give up, and you were
I
this
had
close,
given up.
to,
No, I had given up.
but you were like this close to like not inspiring a generation of people.
Yeah, yeah.
How mad is that?
But that's the truth. I had given up, and you know, it's like Vadim. I done a track with Vadim, and he was gonna pay me like I agreed a fee that was gonna be. You know, I done him a favor. I charge a lot more than that, but I just wanted enough to basically be able to get onto that college course.
Okay.
I was supposed to make the payment by the Friday. I didn't get the money till the Tuesday. Now those 4 days made the whole difference to that album happening.
Mm-hmm. That's
Wow.
mad.
Those 4 days made the difference to that album happening, and it's a time that I will never forget because, you know, it's like I could have gone and done advertising, and God knows what would have happened. It's like starting your career all over again, or I could go on tour with this, and a year later I'm buying a house.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So you understand? It's like it's deep. It's
yeah.
deep, but there was, like, you know, I mean, I remember being on the phone on the day my mom died. I was on the phone to Mark the day my mom died. You know what I mean? And it's like I didn't even know my mom had died. I mean, there was some weird shit going on. And I don't know if you ever heard that eulogy that I did for Mark.
No.
It was a rap, wasn't it? Yeah,
It was an a cappella thing I spoke
yeah,
out.
Oh
yeah. I
no.
have seen that.
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
So in that I say quite a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and one of the, like I'll tell you a story, and this is deep, but okay, so my life is really really shit right now. Not now, but back then when I'm talking about it. My life is really really shit. Yeah, I'm also I'm also stuck for words. I can't write anything. You know what I mean? I've got writer's block, and it's like it's just a couple of weeks, and I'm like there thinking, look, you know, I want to do this track, I want to do this, but there's nothing happening, and I've lost all interest. Yeah, and I'm standing. If you imagine, to the right of me is a window, which is like really big. Yeah, it's a bay window. It's really big, and it's got shutters and it's got curtain. Yeah, and the curtain's closed and the shutters are closed because it had a little bit of wind coming through, and I've got the mic set up in the middle of the room, my Neumann U87, and it picks up everything. I didn't want to pick up the traffic noises and all that, so I shut the curtains and I'm there, just there freestyling to myself. And I did that all the time. I just freestyled, you know, just for practice, because that's what's getting me the flows. Because when you freestyle, it's free form. You just come out with words random. You don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Anyway, so if you imagine now, the window's there, there's an armchair, a rocking chair there to the right of me, and there's the mixing desk is here. Now the mixing desk is on a slant. Yeah, like it's like that a little bit, you know, like it's at an angle. Yeah, it's like it's not flat, you know, it goes up slightly. So anyway, I you're gonna think I'm mad for saying this, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. So if you don't think I'm mad, carry on thinking I'm mad. You know, but yeah, sorry, it's a little bit hard to talk about as well. But yeah, so I'm leaning up against the mixing desk, thinking of ideas, and it was so cold because I didn't have the money to pay the bills and all that, you know. So the gas central heating is off, it's freezing, and I've got my shirt tucked in, right, and I've got a belt on, yeah, and I'm standing there leaning up against the mixing desk like this, you know, and just kind of listening to a beat I've done and just jamming and whatever. Next minute, a gust of wind just enters the room. The curtains go flying up about 5-6 foot in the air. Right? I mean, remember, the shutters are closed, the windows are closed. Where's this coming from? Yeah. So the curtains just go flying, almost like someone just walked in and just slammed the curtains. You get what I'm saying? My shirt is tucked into my trousers, like I said, into my jeans, and my shirt pretty much gets pulled like that, like out of my jeans and everything. And I just felt this gust of wind go past me. And the next thing I felt was my skin at the back of my head, pulling. So I've literally got like my eyes, like it feels like someone's literally grabbing your head and pulling your skin back. Yeah.
Jeez.
And then the next thing I see, the next thing I hear is the rocking chair just got, that was it. So I called a friend of mine and I told him what happened. And I said, this is weird shit. Never seen anything like this. You know what I mean? And my friend said, someone in your family has died. And I've said, I would know about it. And he goes, no, someone in your family has died. Obviously, they're not there to hurt you. And they're probably here because they know you need help. And I was at the worst place of my life at the time. Yeah. So they basically said, ask for help. So do you know where they were? Was there any specific movements? And I said, yeah, the rocking chair. So I went and stood in front of the rocking chair, staring at this rocking chair, and I've asked for help. All I said was, I need help. I've tried everything. Nothing is working out. I got a child I can't feed, and I have to walk 3-4 miles every day to go and pick up the child from nursery and all that. And it's just raining on me. I'm stuck. I need help. And I wasn't eating, and everything was a struggle. And these are the things that artists go through. Do you know what I'm saying? And I didn't have family and all that. I was separated from my family from when I was 3 years old, so I had no one dependent. I had no one I could depend on, but there was people dependent on me. How do you depend on someone who can't feed himself? You know, so I had to change something, and this day was the day my life changed. I'm gonna say it, this particular day. I wish I remembered the date. All I need to do is find out what day my mom died, and I'll know the date. I've forgotten. Yeah. So I asked for help. Now, this happened at about 5 minutes to 9. Yeah, in the evening. Okay. 10 minutes later, my phone rings, and the first person that called me was Jake Weary from the Herbalizer. Blade. Oh my God, I've been trying to get a hold of you for years. I think, no, was it Jake? I don't remember who it was. Anyways, somebody contacted me. Yeah, because I know Jake Weary called me on that night and offered me some stuff, like some work. Yeah. But this is what I'm saying. It's like let me not drop names in case I get the name situation wrong because it's a long time
Of
ago.
course, man.
I just remember Jay calling me and we ended up doing 3 tracks together. Yeah. So anyway, the first person that called me, they said they've been trying to contact me for a couple of years and they didn't know how to contact me. So I said, so how'd you get my number? And he goes, I was on the tube. Someone recognized me and said you should get in touch with Blade. He's a sick lyricist now, you know. Like he's been like 5 years, he's been working, practicing, and he ain't showed no one anything, but he's sick. You need to get a hold of him. So I thought, all right. And I go, when did you see the guy? And he goes, oh, I just on the tube just now. You know what I mean? So in the time that my mom has died and I've asked for help, I get the first call 10 minutes later. And he's just seen that person there. So at this time, I have not registered what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anyway, through the night, I get up. Through the night, I get a whole bunch of calls to the point I'm not even like sleeping now. Yeah, I've got literally calls all night. Yeah, and I think I've done 7 feature. I got 7 feature offers on that night, minus the Mark B thing. So I've got 7 feature offers. So all of a sudden, I've gone from being broke, not being able to eat. So yeah, I've gone from being broke, not being able to eat and everything, to suddenly having about 7-8 grand. And I'm like, wow, what happened? You know, and it was around 5 o'clock in the morning when Mark calls me, and he goes, "Fucking hell, Blade." It's like, do you ever get off your phone? I've been trying to call you for hours. So I'm like, sorry, bro, my phone's just been going mad. It's just been a weird one. You know what I mean? So then he goes, yo, do you want to do an album? Right now we've discussed doing tracks, but we've never discussed doing an album. So I feel like that phone call, that situation that happened maybe instigated that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's no coincidence that happened on that day. You know what I mean? That everyone was thinking the same thing. Let's call Blade. Let's call Blade.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, let's do the album. I'm up for it. Blah blah blah. And I think the first track that we did was From the Word Lab, like I said. And then literally a couple of days after that, it's like we were playing loops back and forth to each other, and with The Unknown, which was the next one. You know, so remember by this time we've already done a couple of recordings that haven't come out yet. But I felt like the Hitman for Hire wasn't really what I was about necessarily. I felt the next record was finding myself more with him, and then the Unknown was when we really went there. Yeah. Now, thing is, I went to bed straight after talking to Mark for about 15, 20 minutes, just saying, yeah, let's do this. I mean, I'm going to sleep now, blah, blah, and we'll talk. So I got to sleep and my phone is ringing, and it just keeps ringing. 6:45 in the morning, the phone's ringing, and it just keeps ringing. And I'm just like, fucking hell. In my mind, I'm thinking there's a train going past, because where I was living, the train station was down the road, and every now and then, if it's silent in the night, if there's trains moving at midnight or something, you can hear it. So I'm thinking, oh, it must be a fucking train again. So I left it. And then the phone just kept ringing. I answered it eventually, and it's my brother on the phone. He goes, look, I got some bad news. Your mom died last night. Yeah. So I didn't even think to ask how, why, or anything. The first question in my mind was, what time? So yeah, that was the question in my mind. What time? So he said UK time. He goes, why is that important? I go, just tell me the time. What time? And yeah, so he said, all right, UK time, it was 9:15. Yeah, that's UK time, 9:15. And it's 10 minutes later, that gust went past me, and 10 minutes after that is when the call started coming in. So if you now go back and listen to that eulogy, listen towards the end where I start talking about when I was at the. But yeah, I was saying, you know, if you go back and listen to that eulogy, I actually mentioned in the eulogy about being at the Mean Fiddler, and I say to Mark, look, just trust me. My mom's here with me. She's going to make sure tomorrow our lives change.
Mm.
That's crazy. That is a mad story.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Thanks for sharing that, man.
Mm.
But you know what happened is the next day I woke up. Yeah. So basically, as I said, like I said to Mark that, my mom's here. She said that, just whatever. Because I said to Mark, just put the needle on the record and leave the rest to me. And my mom's here, and she's gonna watch over us and make sure that tomorrow our lives change. Yeah, that's what I pretty much said to Mark, but not in those exact words. But if you listen to the eulogy, I don't know the lyrics off by heart, but that's one part of the eulogy I always remember. Yeah, because it's something that happened. You know. Anyway, I woke up next morning. The record labels called up and said, Radio One has now playlisted the track, and be prepared for changes.
That's crazy.
That is an insane story, man.
Yeah, trust.
The thing is, I think I may have actually in the eulogy also mentioned that I stood on that stage and there was a moment. I have never frozen on stage, not once. Yeah. On this particular night, I froze at a particular point of the show. And I remember looking around and I didn't realize I froze. It's only when my manager or whoever it was came up and said, "What the hell happened there? You just went quiet." And I'll tell you what happened. I was looking around and I was seeing all these people that just looked. I believe my life is going to change tonight. And I believe it so much that I'm going to get down on my hands and knees and I'm going to kiss this dirty stage. And that's basically what I did.
Yes.
Kiss the dirty stage. Next morning, when everything changed.
That's mad. That's ill.
And I have to say, I was, the Live Cypher was there performing on that night. I believe Killer Keller was there as well. I believe Task Force were there, but not necessarily performing, but they jumped on an after mic or something. I don't remember exactly. But I mean, to share that life-changing moment with all these amazing people was just a big thing for me,
Mm.
So yeah, that's what it was.
Man. Well, I'm glad, Rob. I'm glad you reminded us to bring up the unknown, man. Because
Had to.
that story was incredible, man. Thank you for sharing.
That's gold. Like honestly, it gives much more like depth and scope to the album. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I listen to it now, it's going to be completely different. Do you know what I mean?
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to plug, shout out, anyone you want to big up, or anything you want to talk about regarding 521?
I mean, look, I've got the cameraman, Nick. I've got what we call him White Balance, by the way, because we just had to throw a little bit of color in there. He's a photographer in White Balance. Yeah, so we got Marlon, the sound guy. We got Levi, the sound guy as well. So we got like a little team, and it's all building nicely. Everything is happening for a reason. When it happens, when it doesn't, there's always a reason. I feel like the channel's going in the direction at the speed that I kind of predicted. It's got the occasional things that delay us and whatever, but it's never an issue. If you've got videos that you want to send us and you want to put it on the channel, then let us know and we'll put it on the channel. But what I will say is, it's like, be professional with how you send stuff. And when you want me to, for example, listen to a track, so that if you want to come in for a freestyle, the best thing to do is to pick out one or two dope tracks that you're good at. Yeah, they're your best pieces. Don't send me whole albums, because I can't listen to whole albums. I need you to kind of zoom into like the target and just go, this is it. This is what I do. Do you know what I mean? And I basically get my interest before you play me the whole album. Once you've got my interest, I will be more intrigued to listen to the whole album. You understand?
100%, man. Yeah, it makes sense.
Because otherwise, there's only so many hours in a day, and I can't listen to 100 albums in a day and then get another 100 tomorrow. Because sometimes that is what's happened.
For sure, man. Exactly. People need to kind of be respectful of your time. Yeah, man. Well, again, Blade, man, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us on our podcast today. It'd be sick to see Cosm spit bars in the 521 studio in the near future.
It's happening.
Get him to, yo, Cosm, spit 4 bars right now.
On the spot. Come
Off the top. Oh my god, this ain't fair. Nah, nothing new. There's no exclusives. No exclusives. No. Yeah, all right, cool. We'll do it. All right, cool. Give me my phone. Cool. Some things that I wrote. Where are we? All right, cool. Ready? Yo, guns and Navarone, baritone, blow back. The pro made the slash in the snow. Black gold, action at your throat. Casanova catching the cold. I'm at the coast looking rat glow while Marilyn smokes. Go on. That's 4.
Fair play, man. Fair play.
Yeah, I'm not as deep as that. My lyrics are all ABC lyrics, innit?
No, but I want those ABCs of one of my songs, so let's go. Let's make a collaboration happen. Let's go.
On that note, Blade, thank you again, man.
Look, I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, no, look, I appreciate you guys having me. You know what I mean? I hope you get the results you're after with this, and you know, anything I can do to push what you're doing as well. Like I said, I would love to get you in for an interview here one day, because it's all about like everyone helping each other to grow. So whether you come in on your own as, you know, Shotgun, or whether you come in as a crew and we sit here and talk about what you're doing with your channel, you know, your podcast and everything, that would be sick, bro.
Oh man, yeah, 100%. We'll make that happen, definitely. No excuses. I'll be there.
Yeah, there is no excuses, because I need to get you on the sofa so that I can take some pictures and go, Shotgun's been here.
Sick, man.
I know it's with Cosm, so that's not a problem. But yeah, it's more like trying to do it with people that are doing what we're doing, just to show that, look, because you know what, the mentality if someone's not getting along with someone else who's doing a podcast, which is bollocks. It's like we can all work together, we can all coexist. I'm saying, so let's coexist, let's build.
Exactly. The more platforms, the more it elevates it, right? So it's only a good thing to work together, man.
It will eventually get to a point where everyone's earning enough not to be envious of the person who is earning.
Totally, man. Yeah.
Earning, and, well, pat them on the back and wish them all the best and hope it carries on, because they get there, others get there.
Oh, that's good philosophy, man. Good philosophy. But anyway, man, we've got to wrap this up. We've been Shotgun the Orcs podcast. Catch us on the usual platforms, YouTube, Spotify, not Netflix or anything like that. That's just weird. But yeah, Blade, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you again for taking the time to chat to us. Peace.
Appreciate it. Peace.